Hi friends, I hope everyone's doing well. This video will be different than my other ones. I'm going to show you how I work in a sketchbook. This is possibly a new series on my channel. I'll see how this video is received before committing. First, I want to explain how I use a sketchbook versus an art journal. I use an art journal to create finished artwork, meaning I could take the art out of the journal and hang it on a wall. For example, these art journal pages are finished artwork. On the other hand, I use a sketchbook to jot down an idea that needs to be developed so it's not finished artwork, such as these pages in my sketchbooks. I usually keep my sketchbooks private, but I thought it'd be interesting to show my process. I use all sorts of sketchbooks in different sizes and types, such as handmade, store-bought, and repurposed books. For this video, I'll be working in this repurposed book. I kept the cover as is because I like the color and the feel of it. It has nice texture book cloth. I may cover the embossed image at some point. I added black acrylic paint to the spine so I can write the dates that I use the sketchbook. I'm starting this one in August of 2023. I'm not sure when this video will go live on my channel. I want to work in it a bit before posting a video. One more thing about this book, it originally had approximately 470 pages. I removed over half the pages, and those leftovers will be used for ephemera. There's roughly 200 pages remaining. Since I'm painting and collaging in it, I don't want the sketchbook to end up being too bulky, so that's why I removed so many pages. I like to remove pages from the section where the thread binding is visible. The pages are easier to remove in that area. Some artists glue pages together to strengthen it. I stopped doing that step because I add so many layers of paint and paper, which strengthens the page. With that long introduction out of the way, let's get into the sketching session. To begin with, I'll be working on 2 sketches at once, 1 sketch on each page. I usually don't work on pages in chronological order. I tend to work on pages where the thread binding is visible first. Those sections usually lie flat, which makes it easier to work on. Since I don't glue pages together to add thickness, I like to put wax paper behind the pages that I'm working on in case any paint seeps through to the other side. I don't want the pages to stick together. For the left page, I'm starting by gluing squares and rectangles cut from this thin cardboard. I have a design idea for raised elements that I want to test. I brought out Mod Podge to glue the cardboard elements to the page. I'm using a lot of it to make sure the elements are securely glued. While the glue dries on this page, I'm going to apply Blick's regular acrylic paint in black to cover most of the right page with this Princeton brush. I usually don't use regular acrylic paint in a sketchbook or an art journal because the pages may stick together. I prefer matte acrylic paint. I'm using regular acrylic paint this time because I want to use up this large bottle, and I know that I'll be layering paper and other matte acrylic paints on top of it. Back to the other page, I'm going to use Blick's matte acrylic paint in black to cover most of this page. Now that the paint has dried on both pages, you can see a sharp contrast between the 2 finishes. I know it's a preference, but I love the look of matte paint. Continuing to switch back and forth between pages, I brought out Blick's matte acrylic paint in yellow oxide and an old gift card to swipe a color on the right page. While that paint layer dries, I'll be applying Blick's matte acrylic paint in yellow-green light on top of the matte black page. To accentuate the raised areas, I'm using the end of a brush to scrape away some of the yellow-green paint to expose the black paint underneath. I brought out burgundy papers to a collage on top of the right page. There's light, mid, and dark value papers. I want a simple composition to test out a design idea. I'll be using a glue stick to adhere the paper to the page. I'm going to leave this page as is for now. I'm not sure if I want to add another layer of paint or paper to it. For the next layer on the left side, I brought out this brush that doesn't have any markings. It's a 3/4 inch with natural bristles. Along with Blick's matte acrylic paint in off-white. Lately I've been drawn to using off-white paint instead of white. White seems too bright to me. It could be because I'm using more muted and dark colors in my art practice. Anyway, I'm painting around the raised elements. You can say that the off-white paint is framing these elements. It needed a second layer for the look I wanted. While the off-white paint dries, I brought out Blick's matte acrylic paint in yellow light to apply to the right page. This page looked a bit flat to me, even though there's light, mid, and dark value papers. There wasn't enough contrast. I applied a small amount of the paint on the gift card and added another swipe of color. You can still see some of the yellow oxide underneath. This black Stabilo water-soluble pencil is one of my many neglected art supplies. Using it in my sketchbooks gives me the opportunity to play with it and decide how to use it in my art practice. Have you used Stabilos in your art practice? Let me know how you use it. I'm taking this Princeton size 8 long round brush and water to spread the marks on the page. For the last layer on the left side, I brought out Blick's matte acrylic paint in green deep to add a few accents. I brought out this clear gesso to apply to the surface on the right page, along with another unmarked brush. I wish I could remember the name of the artist who suggested this technique. She sometimes uses clear gesso on top of pages that have non-matte paint to help the pages from sticking to the neighboring page. I want to test it out. Instead of just applying it to the black acrylic paint, it's easier to apply it to the whole surface. I decided only to apply it to the right page since most of the paint on the left side is matte. On to the next sketching session. As before, I'm placing wax paper in between the pages. Another neglected art supply, Blick's Artist Acrylic in Emerald Green. I applied it with the same Princeton 1-inch brush from the previous sketching session. I'll be laying more paint on top of this layer, so I decided not to add paint to the edges of the page. It's a subtle thing, but it does add a nice detail. For the other page, I'm using Paper Artsy Elephant and Blick's matte acrylic paint in Violet Deep, one cool tone purple and the other warm tone. I'm having fun using a gift card to spread paint. This time I decided to apply the paint directly onto the page. This is a good reason to have a sketchbook. You can try different techniques as well as trying different art supplies. I kept this clear gesso out from my previous sketchbook session and the same random brush. This time I'm going to use it to adhere these magazine images to the page. Usually I would use matte medium or a glue stick, but why not try using clear gesso? Have you used clear or regular gesso to adhere paper to a substrate? I ended up using a glue stick to adhere this grayish monoprinted paper to the substrate. Not sure why I didn't try using the clear gesso. More neglected art supplies, a pink Sharpie and pink Posca paint pen. I had a feeling the Sharpie wouldn't show up on the paint, but I wanted to give it a try. As you can see, I ended up using the paint pen to mark the whole page. While the paint pen dries, I brought out again Off-White and the unmarked natural bristle brush for the left page. I wanted to try scraping off layers of paint again, this time scraping off the paint around each element to show the green paint underneath. I'm really enjoying this technique. I've been working with dark and muted colors, so I wanted to switch it up for the right page and use cool tone papers. I love the contrast between the purple and the light cool blues and greens. This will be another simple design collage. Off camera, I'm applying the glue stick to the back of the papers. Staying on the right page to finish it, I brought out these crayons that I inherited from my dad. You can tell that the crayons are old by the cost. I'll be using pink and cobalt blue to add accent marks to the collage. The left side looked a bit plain, so I brought out this yellow ochre matte acrylic paint to add some detail. I'm adding a meandering line of paint around the two magazine images. Even though I'm covering up most of the scratch marks underneath, it's all part of the process of exploring and adding layers. As you can see, I came back in and added more scratch marks on top of the yellow ochred line. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you'd like to see more sketchbook session videos in the future. Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch it. Take care.